Good evening and welcome to the Trendy Teen Talk Show. Tonight I have a special show and I have special guests here. I'm your host, Trinine Davis, and I have my first guest. Your name and who you are, please?
My name is Reggie Alston. I'm from Spotswood AME Zion Church in New Britain, Connecticut, part of the Praying It Forward Outreach Ministry.
Okay, and to my right?
Jim Crawford, I'm with End Hunger, Connecticut. I'm a child nutrition specialist.
Tonight's topic will be discussing ending hunger in our school system. So I'm going to start off by asking, what are the issues and concerns that we have with children and hunger in the school system?
Well, the issues with children with hunger in the school systems are wide and varied. It basically is a social issue. And what happens is kids go to school hungry daily. We're very concerned about it because it presents a lot of problems. It usually affects communities that's disenfranchised, communities that's poor, communities that have maybe single-parent homes. All of those things are problematic as it relates to kids that go to school hungry. So the social conditions are wide, and it's more of a lifestyle is really what it boils down to. And we at Spotswood AME Zion Church have started a ministry to address the problem. Part of what we're looking at doing is bringing an awareness that this problem does exist, and that we're looking at trying to do all we can to raise funds and other things to address it.
Okay, so we're just looking at the city of New Britain or surrounding towns, or where's your focus at?
Our focus in particular is in the city of New Britain. However, this problem that we're talking about is statewide and beyond.
Okay, well, you want to elaborate?
I do. Reggie just made a very important point, and that is that this problem doesn't confine itself to urban areas. End Hunger Connecticut is a nonprofit that deals with the entire state, and I can say with great emphasis that there are no towns in the state of Connecticut where this isn't a problem. Now, the degree to which it's a problem may vary, but hunger is an issue in every one of our towns, and the first line of impact with that hunger is children going to school and what they present not only for themselves but for their classmates and their teachers when they come to school hungry. Some kids come to school and they have eaten something, but what they ate was not nutritionally appropriate, so they have a real down period, typically mid-morning, and that creates a serious problem, not only behaviorally, where kids tend to act out, but there are trips to the nurse. There are situations where a particular skill might be emphasized at a particular time in the school day. They're not ready to absorb that work. They're not ready to learn because all they're focused on is when do we either have snack or when do we go to lunch. So it's a very real problem that I spent a career as a teacher before I worked for End Hunger Connecticut, and I can tell you that there are very few teachers you'd encounter who wouldn't say that they haven't seen this as a problem. And about every teacher I know, they have a little drawer somewhere where they have a little snack in there for the kid that they can tell needs a little boost. And the degree to which that exists, again, is relative to circumstances that you find depending on the community. But Reggie's right on the money when he says that this is a statewide problem, and it's something that we all need to address as a state community.
Okay. Well, I know the city of New Britain, the kids get to go to school and they eat free lunch. At one point, they did have to pay or they had reduced lunch, but now it's free lunch. So it's free breakfast, free lunch.
Yep.
So how are they still going hungry? Can you explain a little bit more into details about that?
One of the things that we need to look at is that, and again, Reggie pointed this out, there can be a social component to it. Over 80% of the kids in New Britain are either on free or reduced price lunch plans. which is a very high number. And of that number, about 65% of the children are participating in school breakfast. So they have a fabulous program in New Britain, but there are reasons why not everybody takes advantage of it. In some cases, it could be arrival time to school. In other ways, it may be the delivery method for the meal isn't conducive to every child. Some classrooms, as an example, have breakfast in the classroom where it's delivered directly to the classroom, and everybody eats together before the start of the day. Other schools will do a meal around snack when they all have a snack time, so they'll use that maybe in the elementary school about 10 o'clock. But the issue can be very far-ranging, because when school's not in session on weekends,
Right.
you can tell. I mean, there are children who are nervous on school days where there may be an early dismissal because they're afraid, because of the weather, that they might not get lunch.
That's right.
And you see that anxiety, and they're not focused to learn. They're focused on how do I get through the day, and how do I get enough to be not hungry anymore. So
I agree.
those issues, whether it's in the summer, or it's on weekends, or it's in the school vacation periods,
Right.
you know, we'll have a holiday coming up soon. It'll be Columbus Day. For some of those kids, they will get a hot meal on Friday at school, and they won't get another one until Tuesday.
Wow.
We know that happens.
That's right.
So that there's a significant gap there that can present an issue, and it's frightening in a way, because the New Britain school system does such a terrific job that if it happens there, it's happening in a lot of places and in a lot worse way, because they're so focused on making things happen.
Right. And the after-school programs, I'm sure, feed them
Yep.
dinner.
Yep.
Actual dinners.
Yep. After school, they have there's a supper program that many schools around the state have,
Right.
and they're there for usually academic enrichment, and that's an important time where they get a good meal, and it's not really what you and I would consider dinner, because remember, some of these kids have eaten as early as 11:30, and by 3
They're hungry.
they're ready
then.
to eat. And if they went home, there probably isn't anything there for them to get. But if they're at school, there is a snack or a dinner item available for them to use.
Okay. Do you think size and proportion has anything to do with it? Because they are growing children. So do you think the amount that they're getting at school may not be enough as their growth development goes?
Well, there was some, and it continues, there was some controversy when the new meal patterns were developed by the federal government, which tried to reduce the high corn syrup and fructose and salt and all the other things that went in
Right.
these prepared foods. And they also addressed the portion issue. I think that's really only a problem as the kids get older, the middle school primarily, and the high school.
Right. That's why I was
yeah,
asking,
that-
because a lot of what you were talking about was more in the elementary schools.
Yeah.
And what about the middle schools and high schools?
Yeah, those depending on how it's applied, that can be a problem. But generally, if it's done according to the guidelines, the kids should have enough. And they can always take an extra fruit or an item like that they can either keep to eat later, or they can add it to their meal as they're there. So that's an important element. Part of this is I don't want to say retraining, but relearning.
Okay.
You know, these guidelines came down, and you can imagine what it was like for a 14-year-old kid to be told, okay, we're not going to get those items that we all liked in school. They're not going to be served
Right.
anymore. You know, now we're going to be doing sweet potato fries, and we're going to be doing,
Very difficult.
you know, we're going to be doing a lot more fruit, and to me, it's quite obvious that the folks who implemented the plan didn't get a lot of teacher input. If they had, they would have, I think they would have gradually introduced these new things and not just made it happen all at once. They might have grandfathered the older kids
Right.
and say, okay, we're going to introduce this. And as the younger kids, you see it in elementary schools, the younger kids are more eager to try things they haven't had before, you know.
Well, middle schoolers and high schoolers are not eating the lunch. They may be hungry, but they still not eating the lunch because
That's right.
they don't like them.
That's right. That's right.
So what do you do?
Yeah. Well, we know that the problem is beginning to turn around, and that, as I said, as a lot of the kids who are impacted by that new movement go through the system.
Right.
Some of the newer kids, the kids who have gotten it from younger grades, are being more receptive to the new meal pattern. So it's still an issue, but it's going to get better, hopefully.
Okay.
One of the things that our ministry is concerned about, Trinine, is that outside of the school system itself, and we really want to work with the school because we know that they do a tremendous job, but by that same token, it isn't enough, is really what it boils down to. So in terms of dinner and outside of the school system in the city of New Britain, it's only the Boys and Girls Club that serve outside of the school system itself. And so we need other installations, other facilities, other places that kids can go to, feel safe, feel like they're being supported, and still and yet be able to get a good, healthy, nutritious meal. And that's part of the concern that we have with our outreach ministry, because we want to be able to provide some of that. I would need to talk more with my pastor about, how we want to go about doing that. But I think in terms of bringing an awareness to other churches and other facilities that would be interested in providing agencies that would be willing to provide that for the children, then it would be more of an opportunity for places throughout the city where they would feel supported, and when they get back to school again, they would be ready to do the thing that they're really coming to school for, and that's learning.
Okay. The Boys and Girl Club
Boys and Girls Club,
provide
yes.
dinner every night?
I'm not sure if it's every night, but I know that they do provide
Some meals.
meals,
Okay.
yes.
I do know that also OIC provide
Okay.
some home cooked meals too. They have a cook there
Okay.
that do cook for some of this on certain days for the students,
Okay.
and they do provide an after school snack as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we do need more agencies and
Sure.
organizations in the community to come forward and see how we can all come together to help end it.
Sure.
What are you doing specifically to help end this, and how do you see your efforts going?
Well, we actually started this ministry. We call it Praying It Forward Outreach Ministry. And we started it about 3-4 months ago. And our first big effort is upcoming. So what we're doing is bringing an awareness to the problem first and foremost, just as we're doing today. And secondly, we're looking at raising funds to address this issue going forward. Every year, right around October the 8th, we have a big benefit for the kids. And this year being no different, we're going to do the same thing. And for more information as it relates to what we're doing, you could go to our website. That's www.spotswoodpif.org. That's spotswoodpif.org, and you'll find out all the information that you need as it relates to what we're doing yearly.
Okay, so you raise the money,
Yes.
and it's going to where?
Well, what we're doing during most of our efforts, and the effort that we're looking at, we actually established an alliance with End Hunger Connecticut. Mr. Crawford is part of that effort, and we're also going to be establishing an alliance an alliance with the Boys and Girls Club, because that's the most significant organization that we feel that's been their mainstay in New Britain and beyond for a long, long time. So that's really what we're looking at doing going forward.
Okay. So are you going to be feeding the kids, providing them meals, or having meals delivered, or that's what I'm more or less trying to figure out?
Okay, for us, that's still a work in progress because we're so new. We're looking at developing that, and that needs more development as it goes. So I don't want to say that that's what we're looking at doing yet, but that's something that our pastor and I and the Praying for Outreach Ministry will be working on. We've only actually been doing this for probably about 4 months now. But so our initial effort would be more of the support of the kids at the Boys and Girls Club initially, and then we'll establish other scenarios going forward.
Okay. And what about on the state level?
Well, I think it's important to note that End Hunger Connecticut is an advocacy group, so we don't have a food pantry.
Right.
We don't distribute food, but we try to connect groups like Reggie's with the programs that are available, or try to help them advocate more for federal programs, whether it's the SNAP program or it's more of the school nutrition programs, the supper program, breakfast and lunch. But it's interesting that what some groups have done in other parts of the state that have been helpful. Some communities have a backpack program, which is very effective, where on a Friday, kids who have been identified by the school very discreetly are brought either to the nurse's office or somewhere in the central location. They have a backpack, and in that backpack is enough kid-friendly food for them to bring home and have for the weekend.
Oh, that's a
And
neat
we know
idea.
that in some cases they share with siblings,
Right.
and it's proven to be, while it's not a solution, it's certainly proven to be an effective method to reduce the hunger issue on the weekends. And we know communities that do that for February and spring vacations,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, because there are no meals provided the way they provide them during the summer vacation. So that kind of a program is really helpful. Another thing that communities are trying, along with summer meals, adults, parents can't eat
With the
with
children.
the kids.
Right.
And the kids have to eat the meal on site. They can't take it off site for safety reasons. They don't want to have food spoilage and
Sure.
that kind of thing. So you're required to eat it on site. These communities that have programs that allow adults to eat have raised funds so that they can offer adult meals, and that brings a lot more kids in because parents know that they can get something as well as the children.
Right.
So that's a huge benefit in many towns, and it increases the participation in summer meals very significantly. Some towns increased it as much as 50%.
Wow.
So 50% more meals were served just by having parents involved.
That's good, because you said it's a social issue, and we know a lot of single parents, just parents in general, are struggling,
That's
trying
right.
to make ends meet,
right.
trying to feed, especially if they have multiple kids. And,
Exactly.
you know, there's a lot of parents that go without themselves just to give their children their last,
Yeah.
and their last may not be that much, and they still may be hungry.
That's right.
So you may have whole entire families out there hungry.
We have, I'll throw in an element here that's fairly new. The United Way has conducted a report, a research report for the whole state of Connecticut. It's called the ALICE report.
Okay.
And that's all capital letters, and it's an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. So these are people who have 1 or 2 jobs or more, who still are at a level where they're only one boiler repair, one medical issue, one car breakdown away from being serious, serious trouble. And you'd be shocked at the numbers of folks in this state that are in that position. And it's not unusual to see a community where anywhere from 30 to 50% of the people are fully employed, are in some cases more employed than they should have to be.
Right.
But they are really right on the edge because it's a very expensive state to live in.
Sure.
And in most communities, a family of four to be financially secure needs to be somewhere in the $55,000 to $60,000 range. And if you're not,
Problems.
you're on a slippery slope. So,
Wow.
and these are folks who don't qualify for SNAP. They don't qualify for a lot of these federal programs for their children because they make too much.
Yeah.
But they're not
making
secure.
enough. Right.
It's called food insecurity. They're
Sure.
never really quite sure where the next
Right.
meal
Meal
might
is
come
going to
from.
come from.
Yeah. And Trinine, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate you allowing us to be here tonight because of the fact that you're helping us to bring this awareness to the state of Connecticut. We've been out canvassing areas throughout for about the last 4 months, and a lot of people that we talked to wasn't aware of this problem, wasn't aware of what Jim just pointed out.
Right.
You know, how difficult people are in terms of having trouble just feeding their families and all. I've heard things like, well, can't they feed their children? So they don't really realize, a lot of folks don't really realize the magnitude of the social issue that we're confronted with. And Jim and I
Sound
were,
like they're not sensitive to it either.
and that may very well be as well. But Jim and I was talking about it earlier, and you know, you have to do something about this because if we don't do something about it now, this problem could come back to haunt each and every one of us and knock on our doors later, and we need to be able to do something about it as we speak.
Well, it takes a village to raise our children.
Yes.
And, you know, schools, families, and community, and agencies, and organizations, we all have to pitch in to do our best to raise our kids up.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
So is there any last words you would like to give?
Well, I think it's inspirational to see groups like Reggie's come along and know that they've locked onto the problem. They see it for what it is. They recognize the danger it poses not only for these children but for the future. And being able to raise the awareness and then providing meaningful programs and giving people a chance to help. So
Great.
many people want to help, but they don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Here's a perfect example.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you both for being on the show and allowing me the opportunity to air this, to get your message out, and to let the communities know that you're here, what you're doing, and maybe we might inspire other people to want to get involved to help the cause and help the children. So, I mean, I thank you both.
Thank you, Trent.
Thank you.
And hopefully, again, I can invite you back to other shows to see the progress and talk more. You know, I would love to hear the numbers to see if there's some positive change and if we really are being effective in the
Great.
communities that help the children. So I thank you and welcome you both to the Trendy Teen Talk Show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
you.
for having us.
You're welcome. So I just wanted to end by saying that I hope your event goes really, really well and that you raise the money that you need to help support the children in hunger.
Thank you very much for that.
Yep.